We good, Lisa? Everything started up.
Good to go, Lisa. Good, good. All righty, it's 5 p.m. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We'll begin with a quick roll call. Mr. Barton?
Here.
Mr. Freshour?
Here.
Dr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Chapman?
Here.
Dr. Minnie?
Here.
All right, everybody will stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. That'll move us into the delegation section, and tonight we have Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller, if you'll come up here to the podium, you do have a 3-minute time limit, and then if you can just refrain from using any student names since we're live and whatever, but we'll let you continue from there. Yep, you are live, yep. Can we go on live?
If it affects students, somebody could call an executive
that's fine,
session and we could
Yes.
take a
Sure.
delegation.
Do I have a motion to go to executive session?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. We go to executive session to hear a delegation about a student. And is there any further amendments or discussion of the main motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. All right, we'll go down the hall here. It's been properly moved and seconded to arise from executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. All righty. Thank you, Mr. Miller, for your delegation. All righty. That'll move us into reports, and we'll start with Calhoun Gilmer Career Center Administrative Council, Mr. Barton.
This Sunday, the 19th, is the 50th anniversary of the Career Center, and they're planning on having a big to-do of it. So I would invite all of you to come down to it, and any that are here and that are on YouTube. It's a special place, and it's a special thing. It's 50 years that they have served Gilmer and Calhoun County students. So look forward to seeing everybody there.
And I was just going to echo Mr. Barton's sentiments to that. We've been planning. I think it'll be a nice event, and anybody that can get down, come ahead. So thank you, Mr. Barton. All right, we'll move on to the Leading Creek Governance Board report. The Leading Creek Governance Committee met on Thursday, October 2nd. We started with election of officers. I was again reelected chairperson. Dr. Stewart, Lewis County Superintendent, was elected vice chairperson, and Mrs. West was elected secretary. So congratulations to us to continue on the committee. We then moved on to the principal's report. Retiring principal Kim Freeland gave the report. There are currently 106 students that attend Leading Creek Elementary. 91 of those are Lewis County students, and 15 of those are Gilmer County students. Their test scores, their GSA data was presented with a 3-year data review. There was tremendous growth in ELA for the 24-25 school year with an 18% increase in mastery, while math saw a 1% loss and science saw an 11% increase. The iReady reading for September Diagnostic 1 showed that 18% of the students were on or above grade level, and 10% of the students were on and above grade level in iReady math. As far as personnel, the school was fully staffed with certified professionals. 2 of their service employees are currently on long-term medical leave, and they are having issues getting substitutes for the service staff, but not necessarily any of the professional staff. As far as curriculum, they're using Wonders as their reading series and iReady Math as the math series. Some of the supplements used include 95% group corrective reading methods, along with math, and the small groups are created based on West Virginia GSA analysis. As far as finance, the school is in good shape financially. The faculty senate funds have been dispersed already to their teachers, and Leading Creek always has adequate money from their county board office. There seem to be no issues when it comes to finance. Facilities, they had HVAC repairs take place. Their units were 12 years old. They do have a new storage building coming for the custodians to store mowing equipment and stuff for their grounds. This will be constructed on site. They had a visit from the fire marshal, and the only issue was they needed to fix the required space from the top of their classroom storage cabinets to the ceiling. They did get that violation written up for the fire marshal for having too much stuff close to the fire system. As far as the bus schedule, there's been no issues with buses and transportation from either county getting to the school. That was most of the principal's report. Everybody thanked Mrs. Freeland for her years of service in Lewis County and in Gilmer County. We welcome Mr. Nathan Haynes as the new principal at Leading Creek Elementary, and let him know that if he needed any help with anything, just to let us know. And the next meeting of that governance committee is April the 14th at Leading Creek at 11:15 a.m.
Thank you.
That's all we have there. Okay, so that'll move us into the consent agenda, and we'll start with the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of September 22nd, 2025.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to accept the regular meeting minutes of September 22nd, 2025. Is there any further discussion or amendments to that main motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. All right, on to the next set.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for the special meeting on September 29th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the special meeting on September 29th, 2025. Is there any further discussion or amendments to that main motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. All right, on to bills for payment. Ginger, you have the floor.
Okay, I just went through them again, I didn't see anything that jumped out at me, it was a pretty normal set of bills, of course, you guys have the details. Anyone have any questions?
I did have a question on page 10, so it looks like we did a lot of technology items. And then specifically towards the lower part, there was a door, it says Gilmer County BOE access door for like 5,000 and something.
Can you tell me what the batch ID is, just so I can look now?
JAS.
JAS,
Yep.
okay. That is the door between here and the ALC. That one has never had the door locks on it, and obviously
With the,
it's a need,
Yeah.
to keep us out and them out and, the two spaces separate. Yes, I think the dollars are ridiculous in our mind, but.
yeah, I
if we
just
can't
was
do that
curious.
in-house.
Any other questions on the bills?
Make a motion to approve the bills for payment.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded to accept the bills for payment as presented. Is there any further discussion or amendments to that main motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you, Ginger. All right, I'll move us to new business, and we'll start with approval of MOU with West Virginia University Parkersburg to mutually provide early childhood field experiences. Dr. Manning.
And the attachment there is on your executive content, and it's just that this would be field experiences in our early education environment for WVUP students.
This be like student teaching.
And field experiences, so where they go out and observe.
Just
and-
observe.
Yes, things like that. And the terms are pretty much standard based, they'll abide by our policies and procedures and things when they're in our building and so on and so forth.
Is this a new one, a new agreement or continuation from
I don't know
prior
if we've
year?
ever had this one
think this
before. I
is
think
new.
this is a new one. I believe it's a new one, yeah.
Make a motion to approve the MOU with WVUP to provide field experience to WVUP students through June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to approve the MOU with WVUP to provide field experiences to WVUP students through June 30th, 2026. Is there any further discussion or amendments to that main motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. All right, on to approval of out-of-state field trip to Ohio for FFA. Dr. Manning.
This is for our students in our FFA program to pick up hogs in Bidwell, Ohio for the ham, bacon, not eggs, they're hogs.
It is egg too.
I know, that's why I said it. Ham and bacon program. So this would be where they go get their hogs to do that program. So the FFA members will pick up the hogs and they'll also see a commercial slaughterhouse.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded to accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the FFA field trip to Bidwell, Ohio, allowing students to travel out of state to pick up hogs for the ham, bacon, egg program. Is there any further discussion or amendments to that main motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. All right, on to number 3, discussion or possible action and a recommendation for CRG school mapping requirement of House Bill 3166. Dr. Manning.
So last year's session, the House Bill 3166 passed, and what that requires us to do is a set of regulations to map each of our schools. And we have a list of things in that bill that have to be covered that each company kind of does. And we have to find a company that will do that for us. This company is in several West Virginia schools and other schools across the state. And so we've kind of chose this company as one of those companies that that meets all the components of that bill. So it would be, they would be coming in, working with our safety team, taking maps of our school, naming, mapping, all of those types of things, and where that can be shareable to our local enforcement folks
It's for like emergency services.
for emergency
and
services and things like that. And that's one of the
Somebody has to come into the
requirements.
school that's not familiar with it, that sort
Right,
of thing.
they can find their way around quickly. So we have verified with CRG that they can meet every component of that bill. And of course, there is some state funding that's associated with the bill that we can get access to. But this would be to approve, to a recommendation to make a motion to approve Critical Response Group as the vendor for school safety mapping service. And this service satisfies all the obligation to comply with House Bill 3166.
So moved.
And it looks like it's going to be about 8,000, but you
Right.
think maybe the state will give us some of that?
For some reason, I was thinking 4,500 was the amount that state
It
gets.
is, I think there is.
So they'll give us about half.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think it's gonna mostly cover the whole thing.
Oh, well, if it's per school, then yeah, because the total's
But I've not seen. it.
84, 82,
That's
so.
why I hesitate.
Yeah.
I've not even seen the promise yet.
Okay.
Okay, there's
All
a
right.
motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded to accept superintendent's recommendation to approve Critical Response Group as the vendor for school safety mapping services, and their selection does satisfy all the district's obligations to comply with House Bill 3166. Is there any further discussion or amendments to that main motion?
Did we need to bid this out?
It's not over the threshold of bid.
Once we get to 10,000.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. All right, we have no old business, so that'll move us into personnel. Dr. Minnie, under professionals, you can go ahead.
All right, professional. These are all for hire recommendations. Joseph Reynolds, substitute teacher. Linda Parker, substitute teacher. Deborah Hill, substitute teacher.
Make a motion to approve the professional portion of the personnel agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to approve the professional portion of the personnel agenda. Is there any further discussion or amendments to that main motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. All right, we have no service, and we'll move on to extracurricular.
Extracurricular, these are all resignations for the board to accept. Brittany C., resignation, elementary basketball coach, 4th, 5th grade. Aaron Leal, resignation, auxiliary elementary basketball coach, 4th, 5th. And resignation, Jeremiah Morgan, auxiliary elementary basketball coach, 4th, 5th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to accept the extracurricular portion of the personnel agenda as presented. Is there any further discussion or amendments to that main motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. All right, we're on to prior service credit.
Recommendation to, for Candace Knudsen to receive 2 years prior service credit for her credit as a bus driver in another state.
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
Go ahead.
it's been properly moved and seconded to accept the prior service credit portion of the personnel agenda as presented. Is there any further discussion or amendments to that main motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. That'll take us out of personnel. And we will go to continuous improvement and begin with iReady beginning of the year benchmark data. And we have Ms. West.
Hello, Ms. West.
Hello,
Hello, ma'am.
hello.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sir.
So we have some data to look at from beginning of year benchmark.
I can't read any of it.
It's the beginning of the
I will
year.
admit, I was the one that said put it on this paper, but I could see it on the other paper. I
You're
can't
fired.
see it on this.
The beginning of year data. So again, we've assessed our students. For example, third graders are taking the third grade test based on end of year standards. So we should see a lot of yellow. We should see a lot of yellow as we look through our data. So the first page, iReady reading county by domain. So as a whole county, you can see high frequency word domain is very high green. There is a little bit of red on that phonological awareness at the top. So that's where our teachers dig into and do quick phonics screeners with our kids just to see what phonics skill may be lacking. Pretty well down, we hit a wall when it comes to vocabulary and comprehension. They're tied together. And so that's kind of where that green and yellow, it's pretty well straight down in sync across the county. Then we break it down by schools, and you can see iReady reading for our elementary, and then our high school iReady reading. There's work to do.
You'll just have to tell me what they are. No, really, because we can't,
I will admit, I was the one that put it on
we
this
can't
paper.
read them, so I can't tell what.
So when
What
it
is
comes
what?
to the iReady reading by school, 21% above or at grade level. And then at the high school, we have 26% at or above grade level. So that's what's happening with reading. But again, that yellow, it's great to see yellow because those are kids that, again, are being assessed on a grade level. They've just started. So,
And this initial data is what it is. We haven't taught the standard to the kid yet. So a lot of kids are one grade level behind because they just finished the grade below. But just to keep that 21 and 26% at grade level I felt pretty good about that number because that means there's a lot of kids already on grade level.
and then if you break it down by school and you look at the domains again, it's that vocabulary comprehension, they're tied. So in order to gain in those two domains, we have a couple strategies we're going to mention in just a moment. And then the elementary by grade level, again, when it comes to grade K, you're not going to see any red because there isn't anything below kindergarten that is assessed. And so I see a lot of yellow in first grade. That's great because they've just started first grade. So potentially a lot of kids that are going to move to the green to be on grade level. So that's wonderful. Then we go to our high school again, working on that phonological awareness. That domain does not even appear. So if we have students who are in the red for phonics, we want to dig a little deeper with a quick phonics screener to see what skills may be missing so that we can give those students support. And then when it comes to your vocabulary comprehension, again, it pretty well lines up. I don't see as much yellow for our high school reading as we would like to see. So we have work to do, which is great. It's the beginning of the year. So then our high school by grade level, again, you can see there our current sixth graders, 34% at or above in reading. Yeah, so I did give you some data on Mastery Prep, and I do want to explain with Mastery Prep. First of all, the platform has completely changed. Everything is not quite there as it was at the end of last year. And so we have had a meeting with Mastery Prep, kind of had some conversation. There's some reports that teachers are unable to generate at this point, but we are told will be available by end of October. Of course, that puts us at the mid of our semester, which for some of our math and ELA classes, that's the mid because we're in block scheduling now. And so our teachers are so they're utilizing the platform, they're utilizing the materials. We We saw it when we were in there for the gate process. Hopefully in the spring, the SAT 2 and the SAT 3 will then also, the digital SATs will have the individualized plans connected to them. They're still building those with Mastery Prep. So our plan to administer SAT 1 to a particular grade level and then 2 and 3, that didn't pan out this year, but our plan for next year, hopefully it'll be a little cleaner. We'll be able to utilize it. I am drilling down into our data, really looking at students with that Mastery Prep piece. And so continuing to work on that. Some action steps currently with reading in our county. We're actually making it available for our pre-K through 12th grade ELA teachers to meet here once a month, 4 to 5, and work on building a staircase of vocabulary pre-K through 12th grade. We have been utilizing the Frayer model across all content areas, want to continue that process. Morphology walls, we have in some of our classrooms where grade appropriate. We want to move that into a morphology journal and carry that journal from grade level to grade level. We really begin to see it in our standards in the 4th grade. Working on building background knowledge. How are we going to improve vocabulary? Well, first we need to figure out what our students know, and we build on what they already know, and then we continue to add to that with explicit instruction and vocabulary. So working to create some classroom interest surveys based on content areas and standards that we're teaching, and then the practice of developing what is called a text set. So if I'm teaching about Abraham Lincoln, I develop videos, as well as magazine articles, as well as newspapers, as well as books. It's a whole set of how to learn about Abraham Lincoln. So that's some of the work we're in the midst of with reading in Gilmer County. When it comes to our math domains by county, consistently geometry is where we are not our strongest. And a lot of the teachers will say, especially at our elementary level, that tends to be the last thing they teach right before general summative. And so there's been conversation about how to better strategically plan that throughout the year. Again, when we look at our schools, we do see more of the yellow. Green is pretty neck and neck between the schools. Yellow, we do see more yellow for our elementary, but we do see a lot of yellow for both schools. So that's encouraging, very encouraging. And so with our math, breaking down those domains, really need to strengthen our number sense at our elementary, but then also working on that geometry and the building thinking classrooms, that student engagement piece, having those conversations about math, number talking about math. Every time you walk with a child up and down stairs, counting them. Every time you are counting out, you count. Lots of number talking. And so working with our students to talk about math and talk about numbers. When it comes to our high school, again, that need for number sense, geometry. And again, this is just looking at our middle school. When we talk iReady, we're only talking K through 8th grade. We're not talking our high school students. And when you break it down by grade levels, again, we've got 28%, testing my math, 28% at or above in the 6th grade. And again, a lot of yellow for 7th and 8th grade. So again, beginning of the year, we're going to teach them and move those kids from yellow into the green. Mastery Prep, again, students who are currently taking math classes have been administered the digital SAT 1, and that's part of the score that you see there. But again, drilling that down, looking at some of our students actually took the SAT a couple of times. So there's a couple of scores in there for them. Again, our plan didn't quite pan out. So that's the reason some of them ended up taking it twice. What we're working on with our math vertical team here at the central office, pre-K through 12th grade teachers, is unpacking the math standards. one of the activities they had us recently to complete with our state numeracy specialists in the geometry domain, kindergarten, one standard had 2 learning targets, while a second grade standard had 16 learning targets. And when you drill down into what's really in our standards, are we teaching everything? And that was kind of an aha for some of our staff. And so taking that, fleshing that out, starting with geometry standards and really working to develop those learning targets. So that work, they'll be here Thursday evening, and we'll continue that work. Also discussing fluency across our grade levels and what do the content standards say about fluency, and then engaging our students via the mathematical habits of mind, building thinking classrooms, the concrete, representational, abstract pathway. And that's something that we've mentioned, but we've not dug into yet, but we will be digging into. The data analysis is ongoing. This week, Mrs. DeWall, our county testing coordinator, will be receiving back the worksheet that I gave you that has the 5 high standards, the 5 low standards. That's based off the GSA from our 3rd through 8th grade teachers, as well as the SAT data. They have to identify the highest 5 standards that were assessed, the 5 lowest, and then action steps as into how they're going to work to improve those standards in their instruction this school year. And that's something that happens every year. Mrs. DeWall leads that work. So that's happening this week. They will be having those conversations. And then again, our grade level content levels, continuing to look at those bubble kids, those yellow that we can shift, some of our red that we can shift, and then looking at skills, instructional pathways, and the need for intentional co-planning with co-teachers.
Questions for Ms. West?
That was a lot packed in a little bit right there.
And maybe could you email me that presentation and I'll email it to the board so they can have a little closer look?
It'd have to be close.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. West.
Couple of comments.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the amount of people, kids in the green in both schools, that is an excellent source. And the kids in yellow, those are the ones that are a year behind, which they should have been. So you've got a large group that is where they theoretically ought to be. So my question would be to Mr. Price and Mr. Fox, is I'm concerned about the kids in the red with the little black marks in them, which would be me, is, and comment goes, it's a lot like castor oil. You might give me 1 dose of it, but give me 2, probably isn't going to work real well if you can get it done. So we can give those kids in the red the same thing 48 times, not going to make any difference. They're not going to get it. So my question is, those kids in the red, what are we changing instruction-wise to try to move them from the red and the red X up to the yellow or higher?
Can I jump on that quick?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think I can probably answer that question a little more than even with our green and our yellow kids, because we look at things in like a pyramid shape, that tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. And so by the time we get to those students that are 2 years behind, we're really talking about what is likely to be a tier 3 student. And we follow that state's model of what's called multi-tiered systems of support, which it used to be RTI back in the day, which was response to intervention and things like that. And that's where we utilize our resources like Title I, small group instruction. That is actually taking place in the classroom. So when you think about how our school is configured, math and reading, it's essentially like a 90-minute block. And it's divided up into thirds, 3 30-minute periods. And one of those blocks is dedicated to differentiated instruction, small group instruction, where a Title I teacher will push into the classroom, be it reading or for math, and we work on skill deficits at that time. And that is something that's universal for all students. So if you have a student that's in the 90th percentile, we're going to work on enrichment opportunities for them to keep them moving. If we have a student that's in the 5th percentile, we're identifying what their skill targets are, and we're differentiating that. So it's not necessarily more of the same, but we're looking at what the skill gaps are, looking at different resources. Sometimes it's going to be a resource like from iReady, where we can print out some of the curriculum that they have. It's a different approach to it, or we're looking at the same curriculum that everybody else is using and breaking it down a little bit.
I understand that, but it goes a little farther than if we've done the same thing last year and I was in the red and you did that for me. And this year I'm still in the red. If you give me the same doses, the same thing, you're probably going to get the same result.
Well, what
So are you
happens-
changing?
Yeah, so what we do is we end up identifying sometimes students that are not making progress despite interventions, and that's the child find process. Essentially, if we throw the kitchen sink in a situation where we are trying all these interventions and we're utilizing our resources and differentiating things, if we get to a point where those aren't simply working enough, we don't give up, but we try to do a diagnostic with a student. We might refer them for an evaluation. They work with the school psychologist. They might end up getting an IEP and diagnosed with a learning disability, or maybe they have a health or a medical condition that can be, can explain the gaps in the learning. So those are where really special education services would come into place if we don't see the growth that we're looking for in that.
So you'll look next 9 weeks when you'll pay real close attention to the kids in red and see if they made progress or didn't, and if they didn't, you'll change the instructional model that you are dealing with?
We're always looking at it. So we regroup our instructional groups after every benchmark. So after every benchmark, we regroup our instructional groups. It's not a life sentence if a student starts out the year, let's say in a tier 3 group. Our goal is to get them out of that group.
Right. Like I said, I was really impressed with the number from green and yellow. That's showing previous year's work being done. I just am concerned, like I said, with poor old Larry in the red.
Now, I want to share that concern with you because I do have that same concern. And I am very certain that our friends from the West Virginia Department of Education and our process for this CSI process.
One thing that we're working on is
Right,
going to try to find specifically designed instruction that will work for those students.
right. Because probably most of them probably are not, we'll say, probably are not special need kids. They are
Right.
just kids who didn't get it. And like I said, you do the same thing over and over, you get the same result. That's my only concern. And that's why
But we are tracking each one of those students and making sure they have growth. And the hard part is finding what works with each one of those
Exactly.
students.
exactly. And you only have limited resources. That's our job to provide resources. And we talked about other things. Like I said, it's the people that are, parents need to know that it's not a one-shot deal. Your kid, sorry about your luck and he didn't. We're trying multiple things. We want them to be successful. And so that's, like I said, that's why there's good kudos. I'm like I said, the Reds, we just have to stay after. And like Dr. Minnie said, you know who they are. So we just have to, and the kid has to do his part. You can do all the work, but if he don't do anything, you still don't have any gain. So, I mean, it's a two-edged sword. Everybody's got to do their share.
Any other comments, questions, concerns on the data? Hearing none? Okay, all right, we'll move on to discipline data, and I don't care which principal goes. Well, who wants to
Wanna do
go
rock,
first?
paper, scissors.
Thank you, sir.
I tried to make this as clear as possible by starting off with the first page of literally just telling you how many we had total of incident reports and documented incidents in Weavis. And right now it is currently standing as of noon today at 235, which is up slightly up from last year at this point. And that's just what the first is. The second page, the second paper here is showing just the different areas, the offensive by building location. This was the high number last year. The same thing. We're working on these different pieces. That is the classroom, those classroom behaviors. 148 out of that 235 have been documented within that classroom. And the third is our referral decreased or increases week over week. And this is that comparison from 2023 to 24, 24 to 25, and then this year. And if you look here, it's pretty dark numbers here, those last Mr. Payne and myself have been pretty busy. So it is been a busy couple weeks here, and there's a lot of factors to that. There's a lot of pieces at homecoming week, a lot of activities and things sometimes get you out of your norms. So, but it has been a busy few weeks here, and we're able to, this is a nice report to be able to look at this. The first few weeks, we're right there where we were last year, but it is a focus on those last few weeks. The next report is just a change in the referrals by year, and this gives it out here. There is a big difference here comparison right now where we are to last year. And a lot of it is probably by definition of what it is. And these are conversations with our PBIS team and leadership team that we're having right now. Currently, the highest number of referrals in an area are insubordination. And some of that is by the definition of what is insubordination. Is this insubordination? Is this just off-task behavior? Some of those things. So we are trying to clear that up. That's part of our PBIS team is this a, hey, I refuse to do this, I'm not doing this? Is this a, I'm walking down a hallway, I don't hear you, and I kept walking, so we're trying to clean some of those vocabulary pieces up on this. But right now, the insubordination is the highest one. And then the second down lower is, and you can see compared to last year, at 33 of the disruptive, disrespectful conduct.
And I said this earlier, one thing that we're, kind of running hot on is technology misuse. And they don't have cell phones anymore. So everything that they're doing is on their school computer. So there's several of those that I think there's 14 of those total. And usually we ran about 30 throughout the year. So we're running a little hot on those. But my theory is on that, it's probably them not having access to a cell phone.
And when you look at the cell phone, we put that in there too. We're at 22 right now. And I know but it's been great. Our students have been awesome. They have a lot of these are students who are, and if whether this is pulled off of there, whether a student has it in a back pocket and completely remembers, if you give a verbal warning, anything like that too. I know they're not supposed to have them, but this pulls from all of those things in there, how it's documented. But our students have been awesome with this. They have been great, not argumentative on any of these pieces, and I'm proud of them for that because they have been awesome. The next report, and I did add a little, I apologize for the sloppy handwriting, but just this is by offenses by grade. And looking here, and this is where it's been. And you look over the last few years. Last year we spoke about it. The middle school area there, and I did add the number. I just ran the number. 66% of our referrals in those 3 grades, compared to the other coming from the other 4. We are working on our county PBIS, our school PBIS. We had our professional development scheduled. It was canceled. We need to get to that. We can have, and I just tell you, we can have PBIS meetings by teams, but until we get there and see how to build that, our goal is to get that ASAP and get that scheduled. And we're waiting to get back from it, but that is in the process as we speak. And then I did add some pieces here to the back. I know we've been asked some of these things. So some of these, there are not necessarily reports for these. This makes it hard. So sometimes you got to go back and just pull numbers. But I did want to add a few things here. Just right now, we have 79 of our 404 students have received a behavioral referral in some. That's 17. It's just shy of 17%. We got a lot of kids doing a lot of great things. When you say 17%, that's, you think about a whole group of students. That's pretty good for a school right now. When we start looking at how many students have not had a referral, and we're going into, getting close to November. Right now, 17 of our 404 students have received 4 or more referrals. That's only 4% of our students. That's a really low number. This makes up 141. So that 4% makes up 141 out of our 235 referrals. So we are working on those multi-tier systems of supports. Mrs. Friend has been at our school with our behavior interventions working on this. We're lucky that we do have for in-school suspensions and those things. It's not the fix-all. There are things we have to put in place, and we are working on those. With every student is different. We're working on those to put those in place. And then 33 of our 404 students have received two, so have a multiple. And so that's 8% of our students, which is another relatively low number when you say students who've received, more than that one, just that random referral.
Questions for Mr. Fox?
Thank you.
I think one thing you're doing is, if you're going over the vocabulary of what some of these things mean, so that everybody in subordination isn't class disruption, like you said, but a lot of times it's shoved down, it goes that way, and they have a whole different, at least for me, they have a whole different meaning altogether. And your 17 kids, they have 4 or more. What are we doing particularly with them? They are your, they would be,
We are looking at those multi-tiered, those supports. We are meeting parent meetings. We're having SAT meetings. We're beginning to develop those things to put pieces in place, behavior plans. Mrs. Friend is working. She has been phenomenal coming over to the school. I've seen her a lot this year of making sure she's in there, working specifically with those students, jumping in SAT meetings as well, and working with those plans for each one of those students.
have you had a lot of instances where Larry was in class and he didn't keep his mouth shut or did something, and I ended up getting hammered multiple times in the same class instead of, for me, it would have been classroom management skills taking place.
We have, in according to policy or with the House bill, we have to, if they're dismissed from class, we have to bring them down now. And I know that's at both levels now. But so we've had to, the one thing is we're really working on that too, of just making sure it's documented that way in Weavis as well. So we know, and it's not just all right, I've sent a student out to cool off or to breathe or something, but hey, this is a disruptive behavior that they were sent out, because in Weavis, there is a place to document it for the removal of class as well.
Any other questions, concerns, for Mr. Fox? Hearing none, thanks, sir. Mr. Price, you're up.
Well, I had some copier issues, so I'm gonna take a different approach with this if I can. And mine is not in color either, because the other copier was tied up. Mr. Martin, if you'll take one of those, please, and pass it down, I would certainly appreciate it.
No problem, sir.
Same here.
If my thumbs work, we'll be all right.
Yeah,
Oh, yours were much prettier, JP.
here's the last one. I knew I was gonna hear it. But it's the truth.
And I didn't have to separate yours myself.
Well, I was so busy up until about 4:30 that I was in a panic, and I was hitting these through the printer here, so
Sure.
I'll do better next time. I'm sure I'll be back at some point. I'll take notes on what to do. Caller, at least I didn't print it microscopically.
That's true. That's true.
I will take the blame on that.
We had valuable lessons this evening.
It's a learning curve.
That's right. Okay, well, it has been a busy start to the school year. We'll just kind of go from here. I've got this line graph in front of me, which has on the top here, which students have had repeated incidents for the 25-26 school year. We have a graph here that I'll reference. We've had interest in questions from the board in the past about what students have repetitive behaviors that are documented in Weavis. So this is as of the end of the day today. Bottom line, the number of incidents, and then, of course, going up the number of students, and it starts at 2. We have 8 students that have had 2 incidents marked in Weavis. 1 student that's had 3, 1 student that's had 4. 3 students have had 5 discipline referrals. 4 students have had 6 discipline referrals, and 1 student has had 7 discipline referrals. And for those students that we have that are amassing several discipline referrals, similar things that Mr. Fox talked about, introducing them to Miss Friend, getting them on her caseload so she can develop behavior intervention plans and behavior support plans for the student. getting them in the SAP process. Couple that with the discipline that takes place. We follow our discipline matrix as a school that's been approved by the Board of Ed here, utilizing in-school suspension and even ALC. So there are a lot of systems of support here. And so I think that's a bit of interesting data here. Another piece of data that we look at is what type of incidents are occurring at each location. This is the one that has the staple in it. This is going to talk about all of the different areas that we have discipline referrals documented in. The classroom seems to be the highest. We have the playground is also kind of a hot spot for things to happen, typically because it's a little bit freer and a little less structured. So sometimes tempers can get heightened and things can happen on the playground. An unknown location. So if we have a student that has a discipline referral and they don't know a location of that, it falls into that category. We have some that take place in the cafeteria, the hallway, and the breezeway. And I think it appears that our discipline referrals on the bus are down. We had identified that before as an area that we needed to work on. We've done some bus reteach this year. I worked with a bus driver earlier this year. We were having some behavior things taking place on the bus. So during our reteach period at the end of the day, between 2:50 and 3:18, we called those students down to the bus and we got them on the bus. I worked with the bus driver to rearrange some students just based on the knowledge that I had of those students and how I could help them stay out of trouble. And then we revisited the expectations of how to behave on the bus, how to ride the bus. Not being in the aisle, not standing in the seat, not being turned around, things like that. And it has been a big help on that bus. And we do those kinds of things to try to be proactive. Any questions about that one? I'm now to our discipline referrals decreasing week over week. I refer to this as the heat map. The darker the color, the more discipline referrals have gone in for that particular week. And our PBIS, which is our Positive Behavior Intervention and Support team at the elementary school, met last week to go over this data. And they had a meeting and just were discussing about things that were going positively in their classroom, things that we needed to work on. And one of the things that we did in that meeting, Mrs. Hartshorn actually led the meeting with that team, was to review discipline data. And things are a little hotter right now than they have been. We have more discipline referrals going into the system early in the school year as opposed to the past 2 years. If you look at 24-25 and 23-24, we do have more discipline referrals going in. My thought on that is that I'm hopeful anyway that these discipline referrals are getting out of the way now and that we are getting some of these behaviors lined out and corrected before we get to later in the school year where those numbers tend to come up. But we do have more discipline referrals going in the system right now. And I think that there are a lot of systems in place right now for when a discipline referral does go in. And so in some ways that encourages the teacher to continue to get that kind of support by simply putting in that discipline referral, because after that referral goes in, action does take place. And then what is the change in student referrals by year? This is the last page that I have here. Just to note at the bottom here that we have, each column is by the school year. And last year we had 220 total discipline referrals that were entered into WEVUS. Right now we are at 97. So we need to acknowledge we're about a quarter of the way through the school year, and we are on track to be beyond that. So I am concerned about that. If we look through this, what are our highest behaviors? And ours as a school traditionally has been, and it still stands to be, disruptive, disrespectful conduct. We can break that down by level of severity, and we can start with a level 1. Disruptive conduct is 14 of our discipline referrals, which that would mean that it's a minimally disruptive behavior, but something that is worth documenting in WEVUS, contacting the parent, so on. We get to a level 2 behavior, which is a more significant disruption or disruptive or disrespectful behavior, 49 of our discipline referrals. So just about half are what we would consider a level 2 disruptive type of behavior. So that's not, I wouldn't call that minimally disruptive, but it's more disruptive. So these are behaviors that are going to have things like consequences with detention and so on. Then we go up to level 3. These are more disruptive types of behavior. These are behaviors that will oftentimes result in in-school suspension or a suspension from school, depending on the severity and if it is the first occurrence of that type of behavior. But again, we refer back to our matrix and we follow that. And we also follow our PBIS flow chart, which talks about types of cues and strategies that teachers can follow to try to redirect behavior before it escalates. But I do acknowledge that we do have more discipline referrals in at this point in the year than we have had in the past 2 years.
Maybe those were just good 2 years there before.
Well, and you have 8 kids with, what, 30 some
Yeah, that's
discipline referrals between them.
And I should have brought the Mr. Fox didn't tell me he was going to bring that report. It was one of the things that we did discuss in PBIS, or that was discussed, I think, in PBIS, and I've talked with Mrs. Hartshorn about this at length, is that as we go through the dashboard and we look, 97 does to me sound like a lot of discipline referrals. However, we're not seeing the same name on there over and over and over again. We have some repeats, and don't get me wrong, we have some, but by and large, it's a corrective type of thing where we hope, we put that in there. They don't have repetitive behavior. So my hope in all of this is that things, after we've corrected it, a lot of our students just have one discipline.
set the example early in the year.
And that's okay. That's what they're for. They're teachable moments. We're a school. And when we have a discipline referral, we take that as a teachable moment. We try to correct that behavior and teach the expectation.
Sounds good. Questions, concerns, comments, Mr. Price?
And I think part of your, like you said, the numbers, I think part of that is teachers are putting it in more now probably than did before. And that will cause your numbers to go up too. My question again to both would be, we'd say old school classroom management. When Larry opened his mouth and was yakking, Miss West would give me probably look at me. And if that took care of me, life went on.
Yeah.
If I kept it up after a bit, she ended back up beside of me.
Yeah.
And you go through that part. Finally, she got me up to the front of the desk beside of her, and then I haven't quit. She's used up all of her bag of tricks, and I'm not behaving myself. Then the only thing left is.
Yep. And that's that PBIS flow chart. We have something they call nonverbal cues, the look. Every teacher has the look. You give the look, that nonverbal cue, that tap on the desk, that proximity to the student to say, hey, I'm here, without making a big to-do about this. I'm here, and we need to stop that. And then, so we know when we get it as a discipline referral, those things have happened.
Right.
We better take it serious.
Well, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Is how many times as part of it is, I didn't do any of that. I've had it. And that'll jack your numbers up too. So, but at least you're looking at it and the kids that you've got listed that have multiples at this time, because.
Well, I'm not willing to label it a bad thing
No.
at this point. I think at this point, we're just keeping us busy with it, of course, keeping in contact with the parents and making sure that we're doing what we need to do from our side.
I had to tell Mr. Fox to be quiet once a day, but as long as he was quiet after that, life was good. And I told him twice in a day, then we were different, but that goes with that. So, but this is good. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All righty, we'll move on to the superintendent's update. Dr. Manning.
All right, just want to give the rest of the board an update. We had GATE. We saw a lot of really good things happening at both schools.
Great.
We saw a lot of great instruction. The process worked through where we did student interviews. We interviewed the students on the seven correlates of highly effective schools. We took our own data. We did a principal interview. We did a finance review. We did a facilities review. We did a special ed review. We dug into the data. We looked at all of this data that you guys saw tonight as a part of our GATE review. And we met with our post-visit follow-up and discussed all of these different themes. And we have kind of narrowed down to provide the leadership teams with a few focus themes for them to work on in the next 9 weeks or semester. I feel very comfortable about that process. I think our teachers have bought into that process. Our principals know the process, and we are solving those things. We saw things there this time that we went to solve last time with our improvement themes, and they were kind of problem solved. And now we have some other issues that we're working on that will provide focus themes, but there was a lot of good instruction at both schools. And very happy with what we saw there at both schools, and just wanted to tell all the stakeholders. We've called students in, we've teachers in, the principals. This team, our GATE team, does a lot of extra work. It's a lot of work. I mean, we put a lot of documentation together. We look at a lot of data, both qualitative and quantitative, and we've been able to have some success with school improvement that way. And I just want to give everybody a big kudos to, I feel like that process, our school improvement process, is working. When we looked at all of that green and yellow, it's what we should see at the beginning of the year with our benchmark data. It's there. So now it's just, letting our multi-tier systems of support work, and then again, reassess, which you will get that data in around January sometime. So we can kind of tell what worked and what didn't, and then have the last push before our testing. So I just wanted to say thank you to all those folks that are working on the GATE process. They're doing a very good job, and I feel like that it's providing good information for our leadership teams to work on to help solve some issues in our system. Another thing I wanted to highlight, Mr. Fox has been selected for a principal leadership cohort, one of 40 principals in the state, and he's going to be receiving solution tree training, which will help advance the PLCs at the high school. And I think that training's coming up at the end of the month. I think it's the 23rd or 4th.
It's because he makes his in color.
Yeah.
And bigger.
Yeah. So, I think that we will be able, and I'll be at that training too, we'll be able to bring things back to further hash out PLCs. I think we have good PLCs, but to make them better, where our teachers are digging into the standards and looking at those targets and really being able to see what our kids need to be working on. Just one comment on our discipline numbers. Our discipline numbers have been in the green. And even where we're at right now, they're still going to be in the green. We're having good success with student discipline. If you look at how the state looks at discipline, it's not by total number of incidents. It's the amount of people that are expelled. It's the amount of people that are suspended and those types of things. Our numbers do look good, and I'm very happy to say that they look good. I do think that one of the things that we need to focus on is classroom behaviors, how we solve the problem in the classroom disruption, that type of disrespectful, disruptive content in the classroom, because that will allow our students to have more time on task, which will mean our students will learn more, which will mean our test scores will go up. So all of those things impact each other.
Because it's disruptful to the whole classroom, not just
Right.
that.
Lastly, I wanted to give a little report. Dr. Miller and I are working on an initiative to enhance our science classrooms. We went to the college to look at resources and to look at consumables and to look at equipment and to look at all the different things last week. I will travel to the schools this week to meet with each individual science teacher to try to see what we need. Some of it may be infrastructure wise. We may have to move classrooms around. We've had some classrooms that have moved away from the Yeah, the water, the gas, the different things. So we might have to look at that. But we are starting the process, and we got some good ideas. We got some ideas about some science equipment that could get some hands-on learning, some laboratory type of things. We looked at everything from microscopes to a bunch of dead animals in jars. We are going to have the science folks at GSU come to us and look at our labs to see how we can better enhance our students' learning. And we're hopeful that we'll be able to put kind of a wish list of things and a plan together to look at instructional supplies and then look at infrastructure that we need to make our science classrooms kind of top of the line, so our kids can be interested in science and math and have a leg up when it comes to those types of things. So we're starting that process. I just wanted to give you a quick update on that. That being said, come to the Calhoun Gilmer Career Center 50th anniversary. I think it's going to be a big celebration and a way to highlight those students that are a big part of our school. We have a lot of students there, and they're a big part of our school system. So that's all I've got.
Okay, all right, we'll move into board member comments. Start with Mr. Chap.
I thank our principals for coming and presenting. And what's on the menu at the 50th anniversary?
They're still working on that.
They're still
I
working
think.
on the menu?
Yeah, I haven't seen the menu yet.
Sweets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
No, I don't have any other comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chapman. Again, I just want to thank the principals and everybody for coming and giving the reports. That's good for us to, get that information and then, use it to work and get you all resources that you need based off that. Again, come down for the Career Center 50th. I think it'll be a good time. There's senators and everybody coming to speak and as they rededicate the building. So that'll be interesting, and you can tour my classroom while you're there if you'd like. I'll pass it on to Dr. Miller.
Like Dr. Minnie said, we went up to college last week, talked with Dr. Adele and Dr. Evans, and they're both very gung-ho in helping us. It benefits everyone when we teach our kids science and math because, as you know, we're fairly isolated here, and to get healthcare providers, teachers, college professors, we pretty much have to grow our own around here. And that starts by giving our kids a good background in science. Then I don't have to argue with them on Facebook in the future because we taught them some science. But I'm very much looking forward to that. And even the ideas for equipment, because of course everything has changed a lot since I graduated a few years ago. And, it was all manual, and we had to make our own auger and everything back then. But, Dr. Adele gave us a lot of ideas of equipment that we can purchase that, will give the kids the experience that they need to go into science careers and college careers. So I'm very excited about that. I want to thank our principals. Thanks for coming. Thanks for doing a good job. I'm looking forward to continuing to see progress in the school system and especially academic progress. So thank you, everyone. And thanks for the students who continue to work hard and do a good job.
Mr. Fresher.
That sounds like it's all been said.
All right, we'll move on to Mr. Burke.
Pretty much so. I'd like to thank Mr. Fox and Mr. Price and Ms. West for showing up and getting grilled and presenting that. We have a lot of good things going on. And like Dr.
Ms.
Minnie
West, I
said,
forgot about you. Thank you.
it's been 25 years since the science labs were constructed. So I'm glad to see that the initiative is being taken to revamp them again. So thanks to all the staff and the students, because if the students don't take the testing seriously, it don't mean anything. So thank you much.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and second. We adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Hey, Tyson, you got 1 minute real quick?